And good afternoon. Welcome to We Believe Digital Studios, Jackson, Mississippi. We're so glad you're joining us today for our 2 times a week news break show, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 noon. We Believe Digital Studios, an emerging media company here in the Deep South. We'd love to hear from you, love to hear your ideas and help us grow. Lots of opportunities here at this studio. You can always reach us at 1-800-492-5186. So here we are, about 83 degrees in Jackson, and it feels like the middle of winter compared to the weather we've been having lately. Heading for 87 today. Not going to see 100 again for another couple of days, and no rain on the forecast for the next week. So it's been a while since we've had some rain. So we'll kick it off on the local level today. Got about 4 stories for you. Starting out in the great city of Jackson. At a city council meeting, people talking about the zoo. The Jackson Zoo been around now for 100 years, but really soaking up a lot of money and not bringing a lot of money in. So the current president of the Jackson City Council, Aaron Banks, says, I think it's ridiculous to fund $1.8 million and only get $50,000 in revenue. Even if there's a 100% increase, that would be just $100,000, Banks says. I think it would be insane to continue to do that when we have so many other problems. So part of the money Parks and Recreation is asking the city for would go to bringing in new animals, develop more interest, and likely help fill some of the zoo's empty exhibits. By the end of the day, multiple council people have expressed it's a dollars and cents issue. That includes the councilman who represents the ward where the zoo is located, and that's Vernon Hartley. So more to follow. Parks and Rec is going to come to the council next week and speak to them, about the issue in, more than dollars and cents. And so we'll see how that goes. Also, at a special called meeting on Tuesday, the council voted 4-1 to approve a roughly $3 million proposal from Lexington Insurance to provide commercial property, boiler, and machinery insurance for the next year. Council members say they were blindsided by the request, which was brought to them on Monday, the day before this special council meeting, by the administration, the same day the city's previous insurance policy expired. Boy, that's really something. The policy is about $2 million more a year than Jackson's previous policy, about $2 million more than the council had budgeted to cover the property insurance costs. So Angelique Lee, council vice president and Ward 2 councilwoman, says, I am definitely feeling like this is not satisfactory, and I'm feeling like we're doing a piss poor job in every department. I don't feel like any department is being properly managed. I just think we need to do a complete overhaul. And those quotes come to us via our friends at WLBT. And I know you don't want to hear this, local residents don't want to hear this story, but here we go again with the trash. a heated exchange during Tuesday's council meeting over the mayor's lack of action to push a new request for proposal. When Councilman Banks finally changed his vote after a prolonged opposition, changed his vote allowing Richards Disposal to start picking up trash. Remember, we'd gone 17 days with no trash pickup, and the fighting and the money spent for, a year and a half, more than that maybe. Now, Lumumba said he's holding up on pushing out the proposal, because really the contract, the one-year contract that was agreed to, ends on March 31st, and so not too far away. So Lumumba said he's holding out on pushing out the new RFP because of an ongoing legal dispute between the city and Richards Disposal. Richards filed a lawsuit against the city, claiming the council's decision not to award the company a 6-year contract was arbitrary and capricious. So it seemed like there's an effort going on down there. I know I had spoke to Councilman Banks, who's now, once again, I think for the third time, the president of the Jackson City Council. I know I had speak to him some months ago, and he said he was working on a playbook. I got the impression like a protocol or a go-by or something to go about this trash contract. So I haven't seen anything about that formally, but apparently, figure the odds. We're going to be getting back up into this in a big way over the coming months. So we had a primary elections on the 8th, Tuesday, the 8th of August, and we'll be having, due to the way the results fell out, numerous races didn't clinch the essential 50% of the vote. So you got to have these runoffs, and they're coming on August 29th, Tuesday, August 29th. Be here before you know it. And so in the supervisor districts in Hinds County, District 3, 4, and 5 will have runoffs. 3 out of the 5 districts will have runoffs. So in District 3, that's going to be Deborah Dixon versus the incumbent Creedell Calhoun. In District 4, it's going to be the incumbent Vern Gavin versus Wanda Evers. And in District 5, it will be the incumbent Bobcat McGowan versus Malcolm Johnson, who it appears in recent days just edged out Ashley Floyd. I got to tell you, I was hoping for Ashley Floyd to be able to do better in that, so that we could have, a woman on the board. Board of Supervisors would be nice. Currently have, all men on the board. Anthony Smith appeared to easily win District 2, although the incumbent David Archie is contesting the results, saying that there was some dirty deeds and so forth with the machines, or with the company that run the machines. I want to say ES&G or something like that. I noticed on WMPR, very popular local radio station, a lot of people saying, that Anthony Smith appeared to win so easily that Mr. Archie ought to give that up. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's not for me to decide. It's for the overall voters in Hinds County. So obviously we want to get the right person the job, and we want it to happen in a fair and equitable way. Robert Graham appears to have easily won District 1. So that's the story on that. Tyree Jones received approximately 90% of the vote for sheriff against Marshawn Chrysler, who had been in the office previously. I was really stunned by that result. I mean, I kind of figured that Tyree Jones would win that result, and yet I didn't expect it to be such a high percent. So we'll see how that goes. I know Marchand Chrysler's got some federal charges up on him, so maybe that had to do with it. I mean, that was pretty well publicized. People knew about that, so maybe that was a decision factor for some of those voters in Hinds County. At the House level, in District 66, Mississippi House of Representatives, and now this is according to the Clarion Ledger, Fabian Nelson, District 66. Fabian Nelson, a real estate broker who's seeking to become the first openly LGBTQ state lawmaker. Wow, wouldn't that be something in Mississippi? Receive about 42% of the vote, while his runoff opponent, Rashonda Harris Allen, received about 32% of the vote. So Harris Allen is a professor at Tougaloo and an alderman at large in the city of Byram. So be a runoff there for District 66. Also, District 69, which was held for 30 plus, I believe, years, 31 years, by Alice Clark, legendary legislator here in Mississippi, announced her retirement. So she'll retire at the end of this term, the end of the year, end of December, beginning of January, however that works out. So the race to take her place in District 69 is down to Tamara Butler Washington, currently works for the Mississippi Department of Health. She received more than 48% of the vote, just falling short of the 50% needed. Butler Washington's runoff opponent will be Patty Patterson. I know Patty, great lady, entrepreneur who received about 30% of the vote. So they'll be District 69 up for grabs. And District 72, Justice Gibbs, an attorney and member of the Mississippi Democratic Party Executive Committee, received about 41% of the vote. He'll face off against community organizer Rukia Lumumba, who received 31% of the vote. You know, that seat for Gibbs to run, that was District 72 seat was occupied by his mother, Deborah Gibbs, but she failed to fulfill her 4-year commitment. She decided voluntarily to step down to become a judge, and lo and behold, poof, her son was right there standing at the gate to take over that seat. Interesting how all that works. But obviously, Justice, a fine young man. I mean, I haven't, I met him one time very, very briefly. Was introduced to him by a former mayor of Jackson. But obviously wish him the best. And Rukia Lumumba, is she a fighter and involved in so many things, justice related. And wouldn't it be great, to see how this race goes out? Probably going to go right down to the wire, but who knows? We'll see. So that's later on this month. And all three of those House races, so once again, that's District 62, District 69, and District 72. Whoever the winners are declared in those three races, they will be going into office in January because they will have no opponents for the general election. So they'll be all three of those winners, whoever wins that for the runoff on August 29th, will run on November 7th unopposed. So that's about it on the local level right there in Jackson and Hinds County. In Mississippi, more broadly, today, another day, no hearings being held by any Republican legislators about this TANF scandal. What we all call the TANF scandal, upwards of $100 million stolen from poor people, stolen, a federal safety net to protect the livelihood, the lifeblood of the poorest people in Mississippi, and these Republican-led legislators and their appointees stole that money. Some people like to say misspent. I'm really not one of those people, you can tell. But they don't want to hold any hearings on that. Democrats have held a couple of hearings, and the legal process is playing out. The Republicans sure don't want to talk about it. Another story on the Mississippi level that this platform has spoken to you about, these We Believe Studios has spoken to you about numerous times. These 6 white former law enforcement officers, Rankin County, 5 white deputies, 1 white police officer from Richland, on January 24th, broke into a home, no warrant, just barged through the door and tortured the living hell out of these 2 black men. 6 white people wearing a badge, torturing these 2 black men in a neighboring county to Hinds County in Rankin County. They even called themselves the Goon Squad, I guess. Where does it end? But, about 10 or 11 days ago, the federal government, they made their charges, and all 6 of these pled guilty to federal civil rights charges. And now, just a few days ago, all 6 have pled guilty to the state charges. And now, I don't know if that's a protocol issue or not, that the feds went in first on that, but it leaves you wondering, when something like that happens in January, and here we are August, before the state of Mississippi, before you hear one peep out of the state of Mississippi. But following the action by the federal government, poof, all of a sudden you hear from the state of Mississippi on this issue. Trent Walker, an attorney for the 2 men, says, to my knowledge, never in the history of Mississippi, in particular, white officers being held accountable for the brutality against black victims. So, again, these guys did plead guilty to the charges. Chances are they ain't never going to wear a badge again, thankfully. And just a little bit of a recap, on the evening of January 24th, 5 Rankin County deputies and a Richland police officer beat and tortured the handcuffed black men, Eddie Parker and Michael Jenkins. They hurled racial slurs. They accused them of taking advantage of a white female and warned them to stay out of Rankin County. They waterboarded them. They used sex toys on them. It's just a torture like you just can't imagine. And then you got this sheriff over there, Brian Bailey. He just not a word out of him. And then all of a sudden, again, once you get the guilty plea, he want to act like these guys lied to him. And if you're in charge, you're in charge. You know what's going on in your department. You know what's going on under your authority. You're signing the paychecks for these people. And if you couldn't think that you weren't being told the right story when 6 white people with 6 white law are torturing 2 black men, if that don't raise a flag in your mind that something ain't right, you're in the wrong line of work. That guy need to go away. So there's a national summit over at the Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church on August 26th at 2 p.m. The attorneys involved in this case will be there. Dr. Cornell West will be there, and many others. And this is on on this police brutality and injustice that goes on here. And so we'll just have to see how that plays out. And we ran up against the end of the first segment, so we'll just stop right there and pick up after a couple of quick commercials.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at webelieve.global.
Welcome back to We Believe Digital Studios and the Newsbreak Show. Just going over some stories in Mississippi, and we're going to go to Rolling Fork for a minute. You know, this comes from Mississippi Today. Many of the survivors of the devastating March tornado in Rolling Fork still uncertain how they'll enter the next phase of their life. They only know over 4 months later that it won't happen soon. According to the census data, 41% of folks in that area are renters, making it harder to move back to where she lived. Property owners can work directly with the FEMA to have a temporary mobile home brought to them. Renters have to go through their landlords and wait for FEMA to find other available land. FEMA told Mississippi Today so far it's approved 96 households in Sharkey County, where Rolling Fork is the county seat. Been approved for temporary homes, meaning they meet the FEMA's criteria. But even after approval, the agency has to ensure there's suitable property to put the trailer on. So far, only 12 of those approved households have been able to move in. Displaced survivors can stay in the trailers for up to 18 months. So boy, oh boy, that seems like slow going. We need to take a deeper look at that. And the last thing on a Mississippi level, incumbent Governor Tate Reeves and Lieutenant Governor Hosemann secured primary election wins. But they'll both be running against Democratic opponents in the general election in November. 75% of folks voted, Republicans, voted for Tate Reeves to continue in the job. Interesting how that works. Moving on to the national level, the first names of people killed by the wildfires in Maui have been released by officials 1 week after. At least 106. The death toll continues to rise. Just two people, Robert, I want to say Dykeman, age 74, and Buddy Jantok, age 79, were named. There's been many others identified, but the next of kin has not been notified yet. And this according to CNN. 20 sniffer dogs trained to detect bodies have led teams on a block-by-block search. But that area is filled with twisted metal and other debris. It's rough going. As of Tuesday night, 27% of the area had been searched. Josh Green, the governor, said the number of dead could climb significantly and even double over the next 10 days. Just a horrible, horrible situation out there in Maui. Officials must complete the difficult work of identifying the dead, complicated by the severity of the victims' burns and some that requires DNA samples and forensic experts. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will travel to Hawaii on Monday. The White House has been getting a lot of flack over not going out there. You know, that's a typical thing. People want the president to go right away. The other side of the coin is when the president goes right away, things turn into a circus with the media. And so anyway, I think he's just willing to take the flack, and they'll go out there Monday. Next story on the national level, also from CNN. The former president of the United States, Donald Trump, facing 13 charges in Georgia for his alleged efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss in the state. 98-page indictment unsealed on Monday. Claims that Trump unlawfully conspired to change the election outcome while participating in a criminal enterprise. Just hard to believe, isn't it? Or is it? You know, other charges include false claims of election fraud and solicitation of violation of oath, getting people to do things that's against their oath to do. Of course, as always, he denies all the charges against him. Horrible, horrible story to my ears. And you know, a retired American football star whose rags to riches tale was adapted into an Oscar-winning Hollywood film has alleged the story is built on lies. The 2009 movie The Blind Side, just beautiful, beautiful movie, make a grown man cry. You know, Michael Oher, a foster child in Tennessee, adopted by a wealthy white couple, and blooms into a star college athlete. In a court filing, Mr. Oher, now 37 years old, he played in the NFL for about, I want to say 7 years, alleged he was never adopted and was instead tricked into a conservatorship. He alleges that Sean and Leanne Tuohy, Tuohy, made millions of dollars from his name. And he's looking for some accountability. So if that's what's really going on, boy, I sure hope he gets it. Another story, Oklahoma. The Oklahoma Supreme Court will consider an appeal challenging the dismissal of a lawsuit that sought reparations for the last 3 known survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. A timeline for when the Oklahoma Supreme Court will hear the appeal is unknown, but the plaintiff's attorney told CNN his clients are ecstatic for the court's decision, which they say will be extremely rare in a civil case. If it truly is a nation based on laws and a state based on the law, then my clients, the last known survivors of the massacre, should be able to go to court and have a court of law determine what occurred. That's coming from Demario Solomon Simmons, the plaintiff's attorney, telling CNN. Another Supreme Court, New Jersey Supreme Court ruled in favor of a Catholic school that terminated a teacher for having premarital sex. So this lady, Victoria Crisatello, began as a caregiver at St. Teresa School in Kenilworth, New Jersey, in 2011. And in 2014, the school's principal, Sister Teresa Lee, approached Cristello about teaching art full-time. Cristello, who was unmarried, told the principal she was pregnant during that meeting. Cristello alleged that a few weeks later that Lee said that she had violated the school's code of ethics by engaging in premarital sex. Cristello said her contract was terminated and she was replaced by a teacher who was married and had children, according to the court documents. So up in New Jersey. Got a story, too, from Arkansas. Students in Arkansas public high schools enrolled in the, who says it's controversial? The governor of Arkansas, Huckabee, say it's controversial. You always got to ask that question. This Advanced Placement African American Studies course will not be able to receive credit toward graduation. So they got a new governor come in, hard right, Sarah Huckabee, daughter of the whatever Huckabee, the one that does the some kind of commercials on TV for some arthritis rub or something like that. Say that they can't do that anymore. They can't award credit for that because they said that several high schools, which were once the epicenter of historic fights to desegregate schools, had plans to offer the course this year. But according to the Arkansas Times, a state education official informed the high school teachers by phone on Friday they would not recognize the course for credit. So for these really bright young kids are trying to get a well-rounded education and learning about African American studies, which you could spend a lifetime in America learning about how horribly the sin of slavery and racism in this country that continues to this day, but they're not going to get any more credit. The Kimberly Mundell, a spokesperson for the Department of Education in Arkansas, said in an email to CNN that her office encourages the teaching of all American history and supports rigorous courses not based on opinions or indoctrinations. So I wonder where she thinks they're getting all the other course material they're getting, and that it doesn't include someone's opinion, someone's perspective on how things went down. It's like listening to Morgan Freeman on CNN last night talking about this new movie coming out. And we saw the movie Patton. I think it was an Academy Award-winning movie, Patton. But, this key, an all-black tank battalion never featured in the movie. So you see, that's the directors and the producers' opinion, their perspective. They wanted to show the white side of what happened during World War II. They didn't want to show these all-black tank battalion that performed magnificently, never even mentioned in the movie. So Morgan Freeman going to take care of that. Back to Sarah Huckabee. She signed an executive order in January prohibiting indoctrination and critical race theory in schools. So what a piece of work. Governor Sarah Huckabee. What a piece of work to sign that. On the global side, North Korea has said that U.S. soldier Travis King crossed its territory last month because of inhumane treatment and racial discrimination in the Army. So that's what North Korea says. We haven't heard from Mr. King, and we'll see how that goes. That was 18 July when the private went across the border from South Korea while on a guided tour. This is the first acknowledgement since July 18th, first time that North Korea has acknowledged that King is in their custody. So obviously we're going to hear more on that. Canadian wildfires. It was back in June we were telling you all about the east coast of Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, all kinds of wildfires going on up there. And now it's the western side of Canada, the Northwest Territories. They're now airlifting hundreds of people from hot spots, and it's just it's bananas. So you got these wildfires still raging in Canada, and then this horrible wildfire in Maui. I know we have all kinds of burn bans going on here in Mississippi, not having had rain in so long. Following to renew the Kremlin's refusal to renew the deal which allowed ships to transport grain across the Black Sea, Russia has started targeting these key alternate export routes along the Danube River. So they're using drones, putting bombs along the routes, trying to disrupt this traffic. The grain infrastructure has been targeted, and in what is the latest escalation in this war over global trade. The grain that comes out of Ukraine really feeds the world. That's why they call Ukraine the breadbasket of the world. In Vietnam, electric vehicle maker VinFast. How about that? Stock market valuation has soared above Ford and General Motors on its first day of trading. So shares of the firm closed above $37 on their first 2 days. That gave VinFast a stock market valuation of $85 billion. A Vietnamese company making electric vehicles, much higher, a billion, much higher than Ford's $48 billion and General Motors' $46 billion. Comes as the motor industry giants and manufacturers fight for a slice of the booming EV market. In the Women's World Cup going on in Australia, for the first time, we're going to have a first-time a champion. You know, never been a champion before, because it's now down to Spain versus England. So 2 Europeans countries going at it. That'll be on Sunday. Don't have the exact time yet. Neither one of them has ever before made it to the finals. So that's a really big deal for those for all those ladies and for those countries. Another story here, kind of wrapping up this whole situation with the relationship with China and Russia, and then comments being made about the Ukraine. So China's defense minister Li Shangfu on Tuesday warned against playing with fire, he said, when it comes to Taiwan, in a veiled jab at the United States as he addressed a security conference in Russia, which is kind of funny. Speaking at the Moscow Conference on International Security, you know, the security conference held in Russia while Russia's started a war, said attempts to use Taiwan to contain China would surely end in failure, according to the state-run news agency. Lee's comments echoed previous statement by Chinese officials, but the location of his speech was significant and symbolic given Moscow's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. China's ruling Communist Party claims the self-governing democracy of Taiwan and has vowed to take control of it by force if necessary. It has repeatedly castigated American interactions with the island, with which Washington does not have official diplomatic ties, including for the sale of U.S. arms to Taipei, and Taipei is the capital of Taiwan. So interesting, because, you know, China wanted to assert its control, take over Taipei, and, you know, then you got Russia trying to take over, you know, the Ukraine. So takeovers. A lot going on. So thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back with you on Friday at 12 noon here at We Believe Digital Studios. Have a great day out there. Take good care of yourself and those around you.